Join Gator great Shane Matthews every weekday as he brings you all you need to know about your Florida Gators, including news, analysis, and opinions with some of the biggest names in sports. Find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Or watch us live at 8 a.m. on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter.
Good morning. Happy New Year, folks. It's 2023, believe it or not. We're getting old. It's Pot Up with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. We got JC here, and then we'll have Scott Carter from FloridaGators.com kind of give us a update what's going on in the Florida Gators. A lot of good stuff happening in the National Football.
Jeez.
Well, 9-3 on the Peachland Dental weekend picks.
Okay, got you back here, QB. Kind of skipped out on us there for a second.
I can't control what Cox does in this.
You're sitting out there you're out there in the woods, QB.
Well, that's true. I mean, that's true.
Well, Happy New Year. Yeah, Happy New Year to you too. I'm sure that's what you said. Look, I mean, I'm excited about 2023. I'm excited about what I just saw over the weekend, QB. Is some of the, well, I think it was the best college football, most exciting. I'll say that most exciting college football we've had. The college football playoffs in the 9 years we've had it. Unbelievable finishes, QB, and believe it or not, I think a lot of folks were saying how surprised they were by what TCU was able to do to Michigan. I wasn't as surprised because I felt like they could match Michigan's physicality, and that's exactly what happened.
So well, hang on a second.
No, that's what happened.
Give TCU a lot of credit. I was surprised, but they did have 14 points were scored off their pick sixes. Yeah, sure. I talked to a close friend of mine that covers college football, played pro ball, All-American in college, has a kid going to TCU.
Yeah,
he told me before the game because he'd been at their practices. He said they ain't got a chance against Michigan. But Michigan's the better football team. I'll argue with that. They didn't win the game. They had a touchdown that wasn't called. Then they fumbled the next play. They had 2 pick sixes. But give TCU credit. The reason TCU's where they are is because of Sam Duggan. There's no other reason.
Well, and Max Duggan. And I'll tell you
that guy too.
Yeah. Well, but QB, I've got some things to say. I mean, physicality, I think, was part of it. They rushed for 41. They ran the ball 41 times for 263 yards against the top 5 rushing defense and lost their best running back. Okay, that's one thing. They lost their best running back. The other guy comes in, DeMarcado. He runs for 150 yards. They had defensively, they had 13 tackles for loss compared to Michigan's 3. So that right there tells you something about the upfront play. And then,
what happened in that situation, and because you got to remember, JC. Yes, you're exactly right on all that. But Michigan had to change their plan defensively because they were behind the entire game by 2 scores.
Yeah.
So they had to blitz. So when you blitz,
yes,
and they have the correct play call, it's a 70-yard game. And you saw that. They had the all-out blitz on a shallow cross. Max Duggan did a phenomenal job retreating and making an accurate throw to the wide receiver. And then there was nobody left there to tackle. You would have scored. That's the reason the numbers were skewed. But give TCU credit.
Defensively, QB, I'm just going to tell you, defensively, they were all over that guy. And now, I mean, I know Michigan scored a lot of points as well. But
how about if you score 45 and 41 points and you lose both games? Yeah. How about that? And this is my point. This is my point to all the Gator fans that bitch and complain about defense. You cannot play defense anymore. It's almost impossible. I mean, think about that. Think about that. 2 teams that were 1 game away from playing for the national title scored 45 and they scored 41 and they lost the damn football game.
It's heartbreaking. The last thing I'll just say about TCU is, remember, this is a team that went 5-7 last year. They fired a coach who's got a statue outside of their stadium. They were picked to finish 7th in a 10-team league. and they had 200-1 odds to reach the playoff. That right there is extraordinary. So I have to acknowledge that, QB. I have to. As far as Stetson Bennett and Georgia goes, QB, not his best game until the fourth quarter when he threw for damn near 200 yards in that quarter. First time ever a team was down 14 points in the college football playoff. They came back to win it, and he threw the game winner with less than a minute to go. I mean, so if you don't think he's clutch, you didn't watch that fourth quarter. But he wasn't great. And then in the fourth quarter,
he wasn't great, but he threw for like 370-something yards.
He did.
I think he was very good.
398, but he
was outstanding.
Not according to Kirby Smart, he wasn't.
I know Kirby ripped his ass.
He did
in the press conference. Ripped him apart.
He did. But apart from that, he's going to be the first guy since AJ McCarron to possibly win back-to-back championships. And I gotta tip my cap to the kid. He never allowed the pressure to be too much for him. And I just feel terrible for a guy like CJ Stroud, who always seems to finish in second place. And he's a great player. Gosh, he's good. He's going to be.
CJ Stroud is the best quarterback the Ohio State Buckeyes have ever had in my lifetime.
Ever. As if, and I think
he will be a good pro because he's a phenomenal thrower of the football.
He is. So he had 349, but he had 2 interceptions, and and I just think that Ohio State, or rather Georgia, they have issues sometimes with guys that can that can run passing.
Well, let me ask you this: Is there anybody in America that has issues with elite receivers and elite quarterbacks?
Right,
everybody does.
But I'm looking for ways to punch holes in Georgia's defense. I'm looking for something because of how dominant they've been. And last year they got beat up pretty bad by 2 wide receivers and a damn good quarterback. And I saw that Saturday night as well. So, I think, that's the key. And I don't know if TCU has the firepower on the outside. Maybe they do, but they're going to have to throw the ball to beat Georgia.
They don't. But CJ didn't throw any interceptions. I don't know. That was he threw 4 touchdowns, no interceptions.
No, that's not that. But I was talking about when they lost to Michigan. You're right, they did. He had a couple interceptions when they lost to Michigan, but but in this game, you're completely correct. He was. I thought he was the best player on the field. But
here are their stat lines. You had 2 outstanding quarterbacks. Playing at a high level. CJ went 23 of 34 for 348, 4 touchdowns, no picks.
Yes.
Stetson went 23 of 34 for 398, 3 touchdowns and 1 pick.
But why was Kirby so unhappy with him after the game?
Oh, well, I mean, Kirby was not happy with anybody on his football team. He said they played as poor as they could play, but he also gave Ohio State credit.
You better.
John says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mellon Law, I would argue that Joe Burrow is the best quarterback that went to Ohio State.
That's funny. That's funny. That's funny.
Very true. Although he doesn't have many stats. I don't think he has any stats wearing Buckeye unis. So anyway.
And I think the kid that plays my alma mater is the best quarterback that went to this school, my school. And
it's not even a comparison. I don't know why people bring up AJ McCarron.
Well, they bring up his record.
Okay, but that's fine. I mean, there's no different than some of these other quarterbacks that won Heisman's or won national titles that were just I don't want to call them game managers. He was much better than that. But Bryce Young is clearly, in my lifetime, the best quarterback that's ever played at the University of Alabama. Not even close.
Not even close. And I'll completely agree with you there. I'm happy that they showed up and wanted to win that game. I think it makes the program look really good. And how can you argue with 11 wins in 12 straight seasons? That's absurd. I don't know if anybody will do that again.
People are arguing because y'all weren't in the 14 playoff. They're bitching and complaining.
Yeah.
The loyal faithful of Alabama that send the donations, they're not happy.
They're fine. Trust me. Everybody's just fine. I think we're going to see a great game Monday, a week from tonight.
It's just I had to bring this up, JC, because you hear it all the time. People talk about 3 to 4 to 5 plays a game that usually determine the outcome. I mean, think about it. There was 4 minutes and 27 seconds left in the ball game. Georgia was down 11 points. They were down 11.
He called timeout before the fake punt.
Right. If they get the fake punt, the game's over. The game is over.
It's over. It's totally over. If Brock Bowers doesn't stretch for the first down, the game is over. I mean, it was just meant for Georgia to win. I mean, what else can you say? And I feel terrible for the Ohio State fans, but they weren't crying for me either when Alabama had some heartbreakers this year, or anyone else that I like. So, yeah, it's just the way it goes. Tough luck. Sorry. I think they were lucky to get in anyway. So,
yeah. Are you in the market to buy or sell your home? Doreen Weeby, a realtor, Caldwell Banker, Emma Parrish, will provide you fast, friendly, reliable service. Call her today at 352-562-1411. Help your dreams come true. Speaking with JC on the Titan More Hotline, we'll be joined by Scott Carter, second part of today's program. Daryl sends a text on the Titan More text line. Happy New Year, guys. I agree with Shane Beamer's comments last week. Once you enter the transfer portal, you shouldn't play in a bowl game.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he had some guys, his philosophy was, if you're going into the portal or if you're thinking about going to the portal, you are not playing in the game. Speaking of the Gator Bowl, that was an outstanding football game.
Yeah, you saw good one.
Another game where 4 or 5 plays determined the entire outcome. And tremendous crowd for the Gator Bowl committee, sold out TIAA Bank Field, just great turnout by the fans of South Carolina. I mean, it was like Billy Bryce Stadium down in on the St. Johns River. It was outstanding.
They really support that team. I mean, good for them. That's tremendous to see. They had more fans there than Florida State would have had if they were playing in the Gator Bowl. A good win for Florida State too. Speaking of them, beating Oklahoma in a tight game. Really good ones, man. It was fun to watch.
I mean, again, those are two teams that are pretty good offensively, but defense. Well, there's no good defense. Georgia has the best defense in America, and you saw what happens when you have elite skill guys.
Yes.
Tom says, I was at the Sugar Bowl. Will Anderson, Bryce Young, family, great people.
Yeah.
Bryce, when they played here last year, somehow Bryce Young's dad and mom ended up at my tailgate. and I
remember that.
They're great people, good people.
And Malachi Moore's family showed up.
Yes, he was there too. Malachi Moore's family. John says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Melon Law. Did you see everyone going crazy over McCarthy's girlfriend? I thought it was similar to Musburger and McCarron's girlfriend wife. Yeah, they made a big thing about it on Twitter. They didn't talk about it on TV though, I don't think.
Yeah.
Joseph says South Carolina's not as bad as you thought, QB. They're horrible, Joseph. They're horrible. I'm telling you. They're a bad football team. It's amazing to me how they beat Tennessee, the way they beat Tennessee, and it's amazing to me that they beat Clemson. I think they're a bad football team.
Listen, they had a quarterback that had a good day. I mean, when you get your quarterback dialed in, man, you can win games.
I mean, he played okay. He wasn't great.
He was good against Clemson.
Oh, yeah. He was good. He wasn't great against Notre Dame, but he was very good against Clemson and Tennessee.
Yeah,
but I am not impressed with South Carolina at all. So anyway, switching gears a little bit, JC, the National Football League, the Jaguars their game has been moved to Saturday night. They're kind of getting screwed from a rest standpoint.
They are. Well, luckily that yesterday's game was so out of hand early that they were able to put a lot of the guys on the sideline in the second half of the game. And so Trevor Lawrence really didn't play much in the second half. Listen, I think Jacksonville will be ready. This is the biggest moment they've had in that team's history since 2017. That's a long time ago when you think about it. Doesn't sound like a long time ago. QB is 6 years ago. So I think it's really exciting for the community. Duval is going to be really popping. They're really going to be bouncing on Saturday night. 8:15. Can you imagine? The place is going to be packed. Hello? Black zone again. Hmm. Dumb internet. I'm hanging. Thank you, Tammy. Yeah, he's got to do something about his internet.
All right. Well, power went out. There's construction going. We don't lose power out where I live when a hurricane rolls through town, but on a beautiful day when they're building stuff, power goes out. So are we still on the air or we have a break?
No, I hear you, QB.
Okay. So anyway, back to the National Football League.
You were talking about Jacksonville.
Yeah, so they are playing extremely well right now. The Titans, I would assume, are going to start Josh Dobbs. I think the fan base would prefer them to start Malik Willis, who I do not think Malik Willis will last in the National Football League more than his rookie contract.
Right.
I have no idea why they would draft him in the first round. But don't you think the Jags can win this game, JC?
Oh, I think they're going to win this game, and I think it's because of just the way they're playing. They're 6-2 in their last 8 QB. Trevor Lawrence has found some confidence that he hasn't had before, and Doug Peterson is primarily one of the reasons for that, because of the way he's handling the play calling and what they're trying to do. ETN is healthy and running the football. Defensively, they are as aggressive as I've seen in 6 years. I think everything is pointing to Jacksonville winning that division. And in all likelihood, they will play the Baltimore Ravens in the first round of the playoffs, who lost, by the way, last night to Pittsburgh, but already qualified. Doesn't mean they'll be the 5 seed. Right now, the AFC is kind of up and down. There's a lot of teams that are still alive, including the lousy Miami Dolphins, who don't have a quarterback. And so, that's going to be be determined. But they moved this game to Saturday night for the viewers. And like you said, that kind of hurts Jacksonville from a rest standpoint, but they're going to play at 1:00 the next day anyway. Just go ahead and play it Saturday night. In the AFC right now, New England stayed alive. The Dolphins are a mess. I don't think there's any. I mean, believe it or not, they can still get in if they win, and maybe one other team loses right now. But good for Jacksonville. The Bucs clinched the playoff spot. I think Tom Brady had his best game of the year last night with Mike Evans. They finally connected and looked good. But they're going to end up playing either Dallas or Philly. And speaking of Philly, they better hope. And I always thought that Jalen Hurts was hurt worse than what they thought, but I think they were resting him. And I hope he doesn't have what Bryce Young had, because it took a while for him to get back. So, the Eagles, they need to win, and they've got a tough game with the Giants coming up.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, what the Green Bay Packers have done, if they win. Yeah, they play Detroit at home, which Detroit is playing really good football right now. Detroit needs a lot of help. They need a couple things to go their way to make the playoffs. But boy, I'm telling you, the Packers, the way they're running the football, and I watched a lot of that game yesterday. They were up 14-3 and hadn't had more than 10 yards of total offense. Yeah, they had a pick six and they had a kickoff return for a touchdown. But they're able to run the football, and they're playing pretty well right now. So we just got a text on the Titan Lamar text line. Let's see here. Speaking of the Dolphins, I don't know who this is from. It's from an anonymous texter. So speaking of the Dolphins, will Tua retire? Not that I'm aware of.
Well, what we're talking about is overall long-term health here. We've brought this up before when he had his second of 3 concussions this season, QB. You keep going that route, you're going to end up being a vegetable by the age of 35 or 40. I don't know, man. That's a tough call. But I'll say this. How about the way the Vikings completely just fell off flat on their face with a chance to be, tied with Philadelphia for the 1 seed in the NFC, and Dallas stays alive now for a chance to be the 1 seed in the NFC as well. If the Giants can beat Philadelphia and Dallas wins their final game of the season, I think there's still, it still makes the last weekend of the NFL interesting, which typically in many years has not been the case. There are many games, probably more games than not, that actually have some sort of playoff importance. So in terms of either seeding or qualifying. So that's, I think, something to look forward to. And certainly, again, that game in Jacksonville Saturday night, that place is going to be hopping, man. This is a big opportunity to host a playoff game. I think the fans want that, no doubt.
Yeah, for sure. Let's see here. A couple of Facebook Lives brought to you by Melon Law. John says, under the 12-team format, I guess he's talking about when they go to the 12-team playoff, Clemson would have gotten the number 3 seed. I don't know about that.
No, I don't know about that either. I don't know. Well, I mean, they were the ACC champion.
Right. But they still had 2 losses. So they wouldn't jump ahead of these teams with 1 loss and no losses.
Yeah, I don't know. My biggest worry about the 12-team playoff is giving the team that gets the bye week a home game on campus. If you want practicality with fans, you got to give everybody a chance to have at least 1 home game, and not just the 5, 6, 7, and 8 seeds. So we'll see what these guys decide. I don't know. I know it's tough. It's tough to travel. I mean, traveling has become very onerous. And those folks who have been on Southwest Airlines in the last 2 weeks know exactly what I'm talking about. It was hard for TCU fans just to get from Fort Worth to Glendale. That was difficult, and that should be easy, very easy. That should be like flying from here to Charlotte. But, it's just difficult. And I think these guys have to realize that, everything's set up for them on charter flights, but for the fans, there are none. They have to go commercial in all likelihood, and you have to give schools a chance to host a playoff game on their campus. I hope that happens. I hope people are aware of that. I don't know if they are. I haven't heard much conversation about it, but we're 2024. We're 1 season away from that starting again, starting up. I mean, so I hope they talk about it.
Joseph has a good question here. Facebook Live brought to you by Melon Law. Tennessee Volunteer success this year due to their QB or their offensive system? Justin said, I'd say a combination of QB-friendly system, but had to be consistent and smart. I thought Milton actually did well. Look, I'm all for Joe Milton. He can play. I hope he's their starter next year because I do not believe in Joe Milton as a quarterback. He's going to make some flashes. Again, he's going to be that guy that's going to make those throws. People are going to talk about his damn arm strength. They're going to talk about this, but he will get you beat. They can have him. It's a very good quarterback-friendly system, but people got to remember, Hendon Hooker did nothing at Virginia Tech, found the right situation, played well. Bo Nix did nothing at Auburn, got into a good situation and played really well for the Oregon Ducks. So anybody, I'm not saying Graham Mertz is going to do that. I'm not saying Jaden Rashad is going to do that, but you never know. You never know. You can't just talk about what a guy did somewhere else. I mean, Joe Burrow's a prime example. Nobody knew who he was when he transferred. But it's a quarterback-friendly system. But I'm telling you right now, I hope Joe Milton is their starter. I hope, because I just don't think he was the starter when Heupel took the program over, and he benched him after like 3 games.
That's right.
So, So they can have Joe Milton all they want, in my opinion. Tom says the top 4 conference champions will be the top 4 seeds. Well, there's more than 4 conference champions there, Tom. I
don't think that's right. I mean, if the winner of the Pac-12 is, 8-4, you're telling me that team's going to be seated ahead of, say, the SEC championship game loser at 10-2 or 11-1. I don't think that's how it is. I didn't hear that anyway. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I think they're still going to have a seeding process. I mean, have we heard anything about like the Power 5 conference champs automatically get bids? They haven't said any of that yet, right?
I haven't heard that. No, remember, I think maybe that probably would be true in this situation with 12 teams QB. I can't imagine a Power 5 champion not being in a 12-team format. So I'm pretty sure that'll happen. And maybe it did, and we just missed it. But what's important to me is that they're at least expanding this. You saw how good the playoffs could be just by watching some of these other bowl games that weren't on Saturday. Some of the exciting games we had just shows you that you match up these teams from different conferences and from different worlds and you could have something really special. Notre Dame, South Carolina proved that. Florida State, Oklahoma proved that. Kansas and Arkansas proved that. I mean, those were great games. So, I mean, that's why I think the playoff is going to be so doggone thrilling for all of us who love college football. Hell, here's the other thing, QB. You look at Ohio State and Georgia's teams this year, just those two schools. How many tight games were they in throughout the season? You can count them on two fingers. Georgia had two tight games all year long, the one they just played and the one they played against Missouri. Ohio State had maybe two tight games, the one they lost to Michigan and the one they lost to Georgia. We need to see these kinds of things happen. The playoffs will bring us this kind of excitement. I think it's great.
Yeah. JC, look, I want you to hear This Day in Sports, which is brought to you by our good friends at Comfort. Comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise.
Back in the woods. There is.
I'm back. Beat the summer heat and schedule your air conditioners tune up today, keeping you chill in the Florida heat far away. Comfort Temp Heating Air. Call them today at 352-376-2366. Somebody probably ran into a telephone pole or something, lost power. Now they got it fixed. Who knows? But like I said, it could be a damn category 5. I don't lose internet, but on a sunny day, it goes away. It's crazy. This Day in Sports, check this out. In 1965, the New York Jets signed future Pro Football Hall of Famer Joe Willie Namath to a $427,000 contract over 3 years. It was a pro football record at the time. Yeah,
baby, in the 60s. From Alabama.
Think about that. Think of that. So that's about a little over 120 something thousand a year he was making.
That wasn't an annual deal.
No,
that was
it was a 427,000 for a 3-year deal.
Yeah, man. Look, that's great. I got an anonymous text. Actually, it's not anonymous. This comes from a guy named Coach Gary. Coach Gary says the NFL, the college football playoff will be seeded much like the NFL seeds, top record-wise. So it's all going to be records. Or,
Just, okay, got Facebook Live here, brought to you by Mellon Law. Justin says, Joe Milton and Anthony Richardson are similar in my opinion. Big play flashy, but I don't think he'll win a shootout. Could be wrong, but like Shane says, that consistency and actually usually doesn't change. That's a good comparison. Anthony's a much better player than he is, though. But everybody gets enamored with his arm strength. Everybody's enamored with Joe Milton. How many times watching that Orange Bowl game the other day did people talk about it?
Yeah.
They talked about Malik Willis's arm strength. What good has that done Malik Willis? Nothing. His ass is on the bench.
Yeah, they can't win with him. How many? Let me ask you this, QB. Lamar Jackson's been the MVP, I think, the NFL maybe once in his career so far, maybe 12. I don't know how many times, but I know he's been it once. But how many playoff games has that dude won for Baltimore?
0.
I think there's been one. One wild.
I thought it was 0. Maybe it is 1. I don't know.
It's one wild card game, but I can count more games that they couldn't even get a first down in. It just comes down to whether or not your guy can make the plays in the air, making the route, throwing the routes. And I'll tell you who's dangerous. Just keep your eye on this NFL team right here that can win anywhere they play if they're healthy, that has as much talent as anybody in the league, and that's the LA/San Diego Chargers. And they have some unbelievable players. It's just when they're healthy, they are unbelievable. I'm telling you, watch out for the LA/San Diego Chargers.
Well, yeah, their quarterback's phenomenal. Wide receiving core is phenomenal.
Good Lord.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's absolutely
running
crazy.
backs. They got running backs out the. They got Khalil Mack on Bosa and Bosa on defense. I mean, they got Derwin James in the back. If these guys are healthy, they can beat anybody, including your beloved Buffalo Bills. So we'll see.
All right, real quick before we get you out here, let me get some of these Facebook Lives. John says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mellon Law, watching Jaden Rashad at the UA. It's on TV, like these practices for this Under Armour high school all-star game. It's been on like ESPNU. The guy's accurate and has touch to be determined if he can read the field. Yeah, I was flipping through the channels and I go, what is this? And then I figured out it was their practicing. And I'm like, why aren't people watching this? It's like 7:07, throwing or just routes on air. But we'll see. I've been told he's a good thrower. Let's hope he is, folks. Let's hope he is.
Be the answer to your prayers here.
Brandon has a question for you, JC.
I'll take it.
How many wide receivers can you name that's played with Lamar Jackson?
Hollywood Brown.
Yeah.
The tight end. Damn. It's true. Right now, I can't remember 5 years ago who was on Baltimore's roster, but I can remember the results when the Chargers, when Phillip Rivers ran them out of the building and when they lost another game. Listen, I hear you, Brandon, but look at the game results. They were good enough to play a home playoff game. So they had somebody out there playing wide receiver for them for 16 freaking weeks. Okay. So it always has to come down to the quarterback. And again, if you can't get a first down in a playoff game against a 6 seed, you're not going anywhere, bro. I don't care who your wide receivers are. You were good enough to get there for 4 months. I'm sure.
All right. Last thing.
I'm sure
Joseph says on Facebook Live, with the emergence of FSU, which I put that kind of in quotations because I still don't. I mean, they won 10 games. Give them credit. But I saw somewhere they did not beat a team that won more than 6 games all year.
Yeah.
I watched them play, and I don't think they're very good. That's just I said it before our game. I said it after our game. I said it during our game. I said it while I was watching Oklahoma. But they're better, and give them credit. But he says, where did it go? Well, I can't find it now. Oh, with the emergence of FSU, I think Dabo is on the decline. Got to get in the portal and NIL both with Dabo is stubborn about.
It's Dabo's fault. It's clearly his fault why Clemson is falling apart.
Well, here's the reason that Clemson had the year they had is because of the quarterback choice. That kid's a good player.
By the way, that's his fault too.
Right. That's what I said. I said Clemson would have probably been in the playoffs if they had played Cade Klubnik the entire year. Think about that.
I mean, they would have competed.
They would have been in the 14 playoff because he's a really good player. They ran like 97 plays the other night against Tennessee, but kept kicking field goals.
Right. Well, and missing them. But no, you're right. And listen, Clemson, I think, has an issue organically, and it's the philosophy that he will not take transfers, and he will not get involved in what's happening off the field to build rosters. It doesn't feel like, and the results are what they are, man. They got run off the field by Notre Dame. I mean, they got embarrassed, embarrassed by Notre Dame. Okay, come on. And South Carolina rolls in town and beats them. Jesus. I mean, that's not Clemson football, man. So Dabo's got to look himself in the mirror and decide what he wants to be.
He does not lose those other games that he plays Cade Klubnik.
I don't know. South Carolina had no problem scoring on Clemson, and
it was 31. JC, the game was 31-30.
Okay, right, but South Carolina scored a lot of points at Clemson.
They had two touchdowns off of Clemson turnovers. What I'm saying.
The thing is that Clemson can be what they were when Dabo was losing every year to Spurrier, or they can try to compete and get back to the Clemson.
Well, I'm just telling you right now, they will win the ACC next year with Cade Klubnik at quarterback. I know everybody thinks Florida State, but again, Florida State, I don't believe.
I like
Florida State to be a team. Who?
I like Jordan Travis.
I like him too. I have nothing against him. He's limited throwing the football, but he makes plays with his legs.
Makes plays, man.
I'm telling you, I think Clemson will be back where they used to be with that quarterback. All right, we gotta take a timeout and get to Scott Carter. JC, Have a good day.
All right, we'll see you Wednesday.
That's JC. Join us on the Titan More Hotline. Take a quick timeout. Come back. We'll be joined by senior writer of FloridaGators.com, Scott Carter. You're watching and listening to Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning.
We want to take this moment to thank our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, the only official injury and accident law attorneys of the Florida Gators. Peaceland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise.
Campus USA Credit Union.
QC Kinetics, Live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Dave & Buster's. Eat, drink, play, and watch. Our Gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Celebration Point Town Center, Chris Doring Mortgage, Silverback Concrete Co., Ruse Ogre State Farm Insurance, Doreen Wibby, Realtor Caldwell Banker, MM Parish. Our touchdown sponsors are Adams Ribs, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteak, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Aver and Smith, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you're interested in promoting your business on the show, call Freddie at 352-284-3733. If you like what we're doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Celebration Point, that's where the Gators go to celebrate, with premium brands like Nike, International Diamond Center, Dave & Buster's, Palmetto Moon, Escape Apology, and Visor's Rooftop, and the HBC's restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. We will see you at Celebration Point, where the Gators go to celebrate. We're now going to head to the Titan MR Hotline. We're joined by senior writer, FloridaGators.com, Scott Carter. Happy New Year, my man.
Hey, Happy New Year, Shane. Good to be here. Good to see you, my man.
Yeah. Hey, Scott, before we jump into football and other things, the women's basketball program won their 800th victory in school program. Kelly Ray's got them going. I'll look through the channels. I don't know if it was yesterday or Saturday. They were down, I think, at A&M, came back and won that game.
Yeah, they won yesterday, actually, A&M.
Oh, it was yesterday. Okay.
Yeah, and a little New Year's kickoff game. But, you know, they've been playing well. They started the SEC. They lost to Tennessee, but that was a nice rebound win to A&M. And, you know, Kelly Ray, I think she created some excitement last year and kind of a test run, got the job, and, you know, they're off to their best start, I think, in 5 or 6 seasons. So, you know, they've got some momentum, I think, with that program. And now it's just a matter of, can they do something in the postseason? You know, it's the only program, as we know, Shane, that hasn't won an SEC title. And, you know, the door is kind of more open there than ever before, with Tennessee kind of falling. And South Carolina is a dominant program, but, you know, they're susceptible. So we'll see what she can do there.
I think the biggest thing, because I mean, obviously a lot of people don't follow women's basketball, but we do know the dominant program that South Carolina has. But it's truly amazing where the Tennessee program has gone. I mean, when Pat Summitt was around, and even a few years after she passed away, they were still dominant. Boy, they're not very good right now, and it's surprising to me. Text for you here on the Titan MR text line. And of course, we're going to jump to football now. Billy signed this is from Darryl, said Billy signed a defensive tackle over the weekend out of Memphis. He is signing players that can help the program. He is not signing players just to fill roster spots. What do you know about the big defensive tackle that the Gators signed?
Yeah, I mean, a guy who played in Memphis, Cameron, I don't have the name right, but Cameron at Banks or Parker. But bottom line is, Shane, he's a guy that, you know, he's a position of need. I mean, we all know that. And I think you look at his background, you know, he played there at Memphis. You know, I think he was a 3-star coming out of high school. I just think one thing we've learned about Billy is that, you know, what players he has brought in, he's been pretty good with his staff of identifying guys that can produce. So they're bringing this guy in for a reason. He's going to get a chance to play, I think, right away. That's just where the Gators are. That's just one of the guys that he's going to bring in. I mean, with some recent losses, even since the bowl game, I mean, you know, I think a couple that surprised me were Ethan White and Michael Tarquin. Not many guys surprised me who have left. Those two kind of did. So, I mean, it's just going to be constant attrition. It's going to be constant reload, and that's where they are as a program. But they definitely need some veteran help right now. And the kid from Memphis is one of those guys, I think, in the list there.
Yeah, I had a lot of people talk to me about Michael Tarquin. You know, he was kind of in and out of the starting lineup, not a true starter, who committed and is going to sign with USC. I think there's a little more to the story. His girlfriend is Tony Baselli's daughter, who was an All-American at USC. So we'll see how that all plays out. But good congratulations to him for finding a spot. Hopefully if he got an NIL deal, they'll follow through with it, because we do know that some of the USC's NIL deals have not been honored, to say the least. Cameron Jackson, 6'6", 340. That's a big human being. And I've seen pictures of him. He doesn't look that big to me. Like, when you think 340, that's big, but he's leaner than a 340 looking to me.
He's built a little differently than Des Watson, is what you're saying.
Yes.
Yeah. And what you need guys like that. I mean, you just watching those championship games, Shane, over the weekend. You look at some of those defensive linemen for Georgia, Michigan. I was watching Alabama the other day. I mean, those guys they're that mold. They're the 6'5", 300-pounders, but they move like they're 200-pounders. I mean, Jalen Carter for Georgia is a perfect example. I mean, the guy is well over 300 pounds, and he moves like he's a running back. And I haven't seen Jackson play to know what kind of a guy is, but I do know that I like one thing I tell people this all the time, Shane. If there's anything I know about Billy Napier after year one, he's got a good eye for spotting talent, and we saw that. And so hopefully Jackson's another guy that can come in and produce like some of the guys he brought in last year did.
Yeah, and nothing against Des Watson. He's extremely athletic for his size, but he's really a liability being out on the field, quite honestly.
Yeah.
Here's a good one. I saw this too, and I don't know if you saw it. These people on Twitter, they get out when they do some research now, whether it's true or not. But John says, I read something on Graham Mertz where he only threw the football 25% of the time on first down, and 75% of his passes came on third and long. Sounds about right when you watch Wisconsin. So, Scott, I'm sure a lot of your friends and Gator fans have approached you. Why did we sign Graham Mertz? Look, we've had listeners bring up, what Bo Nix has done now that he had a change of scenery. What Hendon Hooker did when he had a change of scenery. We're not saying Graham Mertz is going to do that. We sure hope he does. But he was highly, highly touted coming out of high school. As I've said many times, Alabama thought they were getting him. And for some reason, he goes to Wisconsin. So change of scenery could be good for this kid.
I think that when I think of Graham Mertz, I think you look at his career at Wisconsin, and he did kind of start fast there, but then he just plateaued. And I think he's the perfect kind of player when you look at the transfer portal and what opportunities it does exist. He's the kind of guy where I think a change of scenery is good for him. And I think with Florida, where they are as a program with the young quarterbacks, Rashado on the roster as a signee, you got Jack Miller, who's kind of still a mystery, hasn't played much. You bring in a veteran guy who at least knows the college game. Nothing's going to faze him. He can lead and set that example and tone at the most important position on your team. And that's something that is, I think Billy they lacked in year one. I think they really worked hard with Anthony. I think he's a great talent, but he's not what I would say at this point in his life. He's not a natural leader. He even admitted that. It's hard for him to become one of those vocal leaders, and he's going to have to grow into that to succeed at this next level. I think with Mertz, you got a guy who's going to check that box right away. And now, can he go out there and run the offense efficiently and just be solid? And if you can have a quarterback who does that, all you got to do is look at Georgia, man. I mean, Stetson Bennett's that perfect example. He's a guy he just goes out there and gets the job done. Not pretty sometimes, but you know what? He's a winner, and you got to have those guys in your program if you have talent around. Florida's not at that point yet, obviously, with the talent around the position, but you got to have that to build around. So I think that's where they're looking at with Mertz, and maybe he breaks out. Who knows? But an interesting pickup for sure.
Yeah, we got an anonymous texter here on the Titan More text line. It says Mertz is an upgrade compared to last year's starter. And then Joseph on Facebook Live says, Gator fans, prepare yourselves. The freshman will be starting. I don't know. We'll see. I think it'll be a good competition. I was going to ask you, out of the kids that have already signed, are all those going to be early enrollees?
I think it's 16 of the 23 as of right now. That was the last number. I don't know exactly if that's changed. I drove over on campus over the weekend. I saw some guys over there looked like they were probably coming in. So I don't know exactly, O'Shane, how many. I think it was 16 at last count I saw. So the majority of the class is, and that's always a benefit, obviously, when you're at a place where Florida is right now. The earlier you get those guys in and get them acclimated to not only just being in college, but also to the system, that's a benefit.
When does class start again? On the 10th, 9th or 10th, something like that?
Yeah, it's later. I want to say, is it Wednesday?
Oh, this Wednesday.
No, the week. I'm sorry, the week after.
Yeah. So we'll know soon exactly which kids are enrolling, because they got to get on campus. Chris Doring Mortgage, they do mortgage lending, right? Helping home buyers throughout Gainesville and North Central Florida. Call Chris Doring Mortgage today at 352-244-0840. Speaking with Scott Carter from FloridaGators.com, a few more minutes. All right, Scott. So switching gears, we're getting ready to head into our spring sports, which we're usually pretty good at. We had a couple of texts on here. People wanted to know what does like your next few months look like covering the Florida Gators?
Well, I'm interested in the men's basketball team in the next few days. You got Mike White in Georgia coming in soon, so we know there's going to be a little buzz around that game. Shane, I think the Gators, they played. I watched that whole game against Auburn, and it was a really good game. I mean, I don't think
they played hard.
Yeah, I mean, it was a tough game. I didn't think they would hang like they did. So you just hope they can get it turned around. And then, of course, gymnastics is such a popular sport of Florida. They get started this month. They are clearly one of 2 or 3 teams at the top of the list to win the national title. So that should be exciting for Gator fans. And then, of course, baseball, I think, is going to be good. I think they're going to open the season at number 2 in a lot of polls, maybe number 1 here and there, certainly in the top 5 in about every major poll. So that team, they haven't been to Omaha, since 17. So, maybe it's time to get back there. So anyway, there's always something going on. And then, of course, we got spring football. And I'm not going to lie, I'm kind of looking forward to this coming football season more than I have in a while, because although you had a first-year coach last year, I never believed that it was going to be a lot different because of the talent. Now they're starting to really get a new face to the roster. So I'm kind of intrigued by where this is going in year 2 under Billy Napier.
Have they set dates for spring ball yet?
No, dates haven't been set. I don't know what we're looking there, and I don't know what the spring game date is, but I do know that there's going to be probably a lot of anticipation, because, you're seeing how this thing changes so rapidly. I mean, hats off to TCU, man. Sonny Dykes' first year in the national championship game.
Yeah, they're going to, and just think about it, the next 6 years, if they don't even make it to a major bowl game, they'll be trying to fire him for all, for what it's worth.
Yes.
We had another text here on the Titan Mark text line from Jim. He wanted to know, Scott, are you aware of any, with the bowls coming to an end, are you aware of any other portal signees?
Not as this moment. I mean, I expect some. I think they're going to come later on, to be honest with you. And I still think that we've seen guys who got signed in the high school, straight out of high school last week. I think there's going to be some movement with those guys even before the season starts. Not at Florida, but I'm just saying there's going to be some big names who signed at certain schools on the early signing day. They're going to be at another school by the time the season starts. So there'll be a lot of movement. It's going to be ongoing.
All right, last text here for you from William. He says, Sam Hartman probably will end up at Notre Dame. There were a lot of rumors out there that he had some health issues early in the year that caused Florida to not want him. Any truth to that? I mean, I don't know.
I don't. I mean, he did have health issues, but we all saw he came back and did okay. So I think Sam Hartman, if he was a guy that if Florida wanted him and he had interest, I don't think any health issues would have blocked it.
Yeah. Last thing here, John asked on Facebook Live. I think you covered this, or answered it. Does Scott cover baseball or softball? You cover both, but mostly. Doesn't Chris do softball? And you do baseball?
Chris Harry does lots of more softball. I do more baseball. Been to Omaha 6 times with those guys in the last 12 years. So it'd be fun to get back out there. Haven't been in a while. I will say this: there's one guy that I'll mention, Carson Waldrop, the right-handed pitcher, transferred from Southern Miss. If you like baseball and you're kind of one of those guys, you show up to watch a pitcher because you never know what might happen. He's a guy, when he starts, try to get there and watch him, because he's got the kind of stuff that he could throw a no-hitter any game. He could stuff is amazing. He's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah. So there you go, Gator fans. If we lose players to other programs, it is what it is. But you get good players, you got to accept it. It's just part of the game these days. Scott, good stuff as always, my man. Let them know where they can follow you on Twitter.
Yeah, same place as 2022, Shane. At
You haven't changed it?
I haven't changed it, man. I'm going to get a haircut today to get away from my quarantine look. So, but bottom line is Gator Scott on Twitter, FloridaGators.com, and I'm looking forward to a better year, man. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, let's hope so. Scott, Happy New Year. Appreciate your time, my man, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, Shane. Happy New Year to you, buddy.
That's Scott Carter from FloridaGators.com. Take a quick timeout, come back and wrap up this Monday edition. You're watching and listening to Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning.
We want to take this moment to thank our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, the only official injury and accident law attorneys of the Florida Gators. Peaceland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise.
Campus USA Credit Union.
QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Dave & Buster's, eat, drink, play, and watch. Our gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Celebration Point Town Center, Chris Doring Mortgage, Silverback Concrete Co., Ruse Ogre State Farm Insurance, Doreen Wibby, Realtor Caldwell Banker, MM Parish. Our touchdown sponsors are Adams Ribs, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteak, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Aver and Smith, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you're interested in promoting your business on the show, call Freddie at 352-284-3733. If you like what we're doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. I want to thank Scott Carter and JC for joining us on the Titan MR hotline. Ruse Ogre State Farm Office is a team of dedicated insurance professionals ready to help life go right with the right insurance options for you and your family. Visit ogreinsurance.com. Give them a call at 352-240-1779. Tonight, a really good Monday night game. Buffalo travels to Cincinnati to the Jungle. This game has a lot of implications for the seedings in the AFC. Bills are at 12-3. Bengals are 11-4. So should be a heck of a one. Two tremendous quarterbacks playing, and I wonder if the Manning cast is on tonight. That's where I will always watch. Love the Manning cast. You can learn some football there, and they're hilarious, by the way. Tomorrow we have more college football games, which is weird, when you have games after the championship games. But at noon on or actually, is it today or tomorrow? Maybe it's today. I'm so screwed up with my days. It's today. Mississippi State and Illinois down at Tampa at the old Outback Bowl. You got Tulane to USC at 1, LSU and Purdue at 1. Yeah, there's a lot of games today. Why did I think they were tomorrow? So the Rose Bowl is actually today at 5 o'clock. Oh, okay. So if you're not working, I don't know if people in the real world are working. Obviously, we're doing our show. I guess today is kind of like New Year's Day as well. Hope you enjoyed today's program. Tell all your friends and family to follow our program. The more that listen, the more y'all ask questions. We appreciate it. Have a great day out there, and we'll see you tomorrow. Take care.